All right, so today we are looking at vocabulary. In particular, we're going to be looking at adjectives. Adjectives are important little words because they make our writing to seem much more sophisticated and advanced. So we don't need them in the sentence, but they improve our sentences. So we're going to have a look at some different ways that we form adjectives and how we can use them in sentences. Okay, before we begin, I have a task for you. I'd like you to identify the adjectives in this sentence. Okay, some of you got almost all of them correct. And there's one of you, I think, Fang, you got all 5 correct. So there were 5, 6, almost. Okay, there were 6 adjectives. Let's have a look at them. So surrealist artists. And some of you said revolutionize. Now, revolutionize is the verb. Revolution is the noun. Okay, revolt is also a noun. So there is no adjective for revolution. Okay, so to revolutionize something is to change something drastically. Another adjective is human, which describes the experience. Then we have personal, cultural, social, and political. All right, good. So let's move on. First rule is adjectives describe nouns. So here are 3 nouns from the passage that I just showed you. We have artists, experience, and aspects. And if you were here last week, we can remember that nouns are things, people, places, or feelings. So here we have artist, experience, and aspects. And the adjectives were surrealist, artist, human experience, personal aspect, cultural aspects, social aspects, and political aspects. So adjectives function to tell us what kind of noun. So when we saw just then artist, what kind of artist? Surrealist artist. Aspects, what kind of aspects? Political, cultural, social. Okay, here we have a painting, and there are many adjectives that you can use to describe this painting. So specifically, what kind of painting is it? And we've just learned this word from the previous paragraph. Excellent, Livia. Yes, it's a surrealist painting. So the surrealist is the adjective that describes the noun painting. Okay, another rule. Sometimes nouns can act like adjectives. So again, you might have noticed in the previous paragraph, we had here human, and human is a noun. It's a name of a thing. It's a name of a species. But here it's acting as an adjective. It's telling us what kind of experience. Well, the human experience. Okay, so it's not unusual for nouns to act as adjectives sometimes when they describe another noun. So, task 2, identify the adjectives in this sentence. Okay, so some of you, yes, good. Good, excellent. So there were only three adjectives here. So the first one is ancient. Ancient describes the cultures. So what kind of cultures? Ancient cultures. And here we have the word stone. Stone can be a noun. It's the name of a thing. It's the name of an object. But in this particular sentence, stone is acting as an adjective because it's describing the sculptures. What kind of sculptures? Stone sculptures. The same thing with clay. Clay is like mud. It's a noun, but in this sentence, it's acting as an adjective because it's describing the kind of pots. What kind of pots? Clay pots. Okay, next task. Identify the adjectives. Okay, let's have a look. So there were 6 adjectives altogether, and a lot of you, actually most of you got them. So we had philosophical, which describes the kind of movement, subconscious, which describes the mind, logical, which describes the thought, and excellent. Most of you, almost all of you got oil, which is a noun, it's the name of something, but in this case, it's actually describing the paintings. What kind of paintings? Oil paintings. Little and random. Okay, movement, Sumi, is a noun. Move is the verb, you move, it's an action. Movement is the noun. What else? Any other questions? Dream is not included, Divya, because a dream is the name of something, right? It's not an adjective. A dream is a noun. It's the name of something that happens in our mind when we sleep. Any other questions? Okay, let's move on. Usually, somebody had usually. Usually is an adverb. It's a different kind of word. Adverbs describe verbs, whereas adjectives describe nouns. So here we have the verb trying, and this word usually describes the verb trying. And usually adverbs, you can tell them apart because most of the time they end in ly. So usual becomes usually. So that's one easy way to tell an adverb. Okay, how do we form adjectives? Now, there are many ways we can form adjectives. In this class, we're only going to look at 3 because we don't have time to look at all of them. But before we look at the ways, can you make adjectives out of these words? Okay, let's have a look. So scare is actually a verb, and it can be made into scared, meaning I feel scared, or scary, the movie was scary. Delight is a noun, and it becomes delightful. Eagerness is a noun, and it becomes eager as an adjective. Elegance is a noun, and the adjective is elegant. Mystery is a noun, becomes mysterious, and bump is a verb, and it becomes bumpy. So one way to make adjectives is to form them out of nouns, as we just saw in some of the examples previously. So we're going to look at 3 ways that we can form adjectives out of nouns. One way is to add y to the end of the noun. So for example, itch becomes itchy, storm becomes stormy, dirt, dirty, salt, salty, sun, sunny. Okay, so here we have our nouns, and we just add y to make them adjectives. Nice and easy. Most of you know these. Now, there's a rule, and this has to do with spelling, and this is quite important in your essay writing. If the noun ends in E, you need to drop the E before you add the Y. So for example, spice, we can't just add Y to the end, we have to drop the E and then add the Y. The same with shine, shiny, nose, nosy. Now, nosy is an exception. We have to keep it. Okay, so although there are rules, as you know in English, which is what makes it sometimes a bit more challenging to learn, is there are usually exceptions to rules. And you just need to remember them, remember how they look. Next rule, if the noun ends in a vowel plus a consonant, you need to double the last consonant. What does this mean? Well, firstly, what are vowels? There are 5 vowels in the English language, A, E, I, O, U. Okay, these are our vowel sounds. So if the word ends in a vowel and then a consonant is every other letter that's not a vowel, then we have to double the last vowel. So fun is vowel consonant, we have to double the N and add Y. Slop, vowel consonant, double the P before we add Y. Mud, vowel consonant, we double the D and add Y. Okay, so these are some spelling rules for you to remember. However, there's another exception. Unless there are two vowels before the consonant. For example, here we have foam. We have vowel, vowel, consonant. We don't double the N, we just add Y. Gloom, vowel, vowel, consonant. We just add Y. Room, double vowel, consonant. We just add Y, it becomes roomy. All right, so there are a few little rules for you there to remember. Let's try it out. Can you make adjectives out of these nouns? Okay, let's check our answers. So rain becomes rainy. A couple of you were tricked with this one. Remember the rule when we have a vowel, and in this case we have I, followed by a consonant, we drop the Y first. So ice becomes icy. We have to drop we have to drop the E and add Y. Run, here we have a vowel and then a consonant, so we have to double the last consonant, double N. The same with foggy. Now health, there's no vowel before the last consonant, so we just add Y. No E is necessary. Okay. Another way to form an adjective is to add full to the end of the noun. You'll be familiar with some of these. So dread, cheer, care, pain, and peace. Can we turn these into adjectives? All right, well done, everybody. So we have dreadful, cheerful, careful, painful, and peaceful. What's dread? What does the word dread mean if you've never heard of it before? Dread is that feeling of fear that you have before something happens, before something bad happens, okay? And cheer is happiness. All right, take care with your spelling. So these adjectives are always spelt with one L at the end. And I see that all of you did that. None of you made the mistake of adding double L, which is good. All right, so try yourself: success, beauty, power, faith, and skill. Okay, well done everybody. We have successful, beautiful, powerful, faithful, and skillful. Now, what's actually happened to the Y at the end of beauty? We've dropped the Y and we've added I. Okay, so this is another rule. When the noun ends in Y, we have to replace it with I. A third way to make adjectives out of nouns is to minus ness at the end of the noun. So for example, wickedness, it's a noun, it's the name of a personality trait. Weakness, also a noun. Softness, darkness, we remove ness and we are left with the adjectives wicked, weak, soft, and dark. So what is the rule here? I becomes Y. So let me just go back. I becomes Y. Yeah, okay, so here we have a few examples. Let's see if you can change these. All right, let's have a look at our answers. And then Bilal has asked a good question, which I will answer once we look at the answers. So awareness, we just drop ness and we make the adjective aware. We can describe a person as being an aware person. Forgetfulness is the noun, and forgetful describes the person. Tidiness, well, we drop the ness and we have to change the I to a Y. Openness, we drop the ness and we're just ending off with one N. And friendliness, minus ness, drop the I and add Y. Now Bilal said, can we make forgetfulness forgettable? Is forgettable an adjective? It is. Forgettable can describe a person or an event or a conversation. We can say that, oh yeah, I went to that concert, but her performance was very forgettable, meaning that it wasn't very interesting and it's something that you will forget easily because it didn't keep you interested. Okay, so that we can form lots of different adjectives actually from one noun, but today we're just looking at the basics. Alvin, openly is an adverb. Okay, so remember when we add ly, to an adjective, most of the time, it becomes an adverb. Most of the time. So you can see that friendly here ends in ly and it's an adjective. All right, and we're back. So another way, so we've just finished looking at how you can make adjectives out of nouns. So 3 common ways that we can make adjectives out of nouns. Another way you can make adjectives is out of verbs. And how do we do this? Some adjectives can be made by adding ed to a verb. Ed ending adjectives describe feelings. So bore becomes bored. I feel bored. Amuse becomes amused. I feel amused. Annoy, annoyed. I feel annoyed. Confuse, confused. Interest, interested. I feel interested. And oops, there's a little bit of a mistake there. Excite should be excited. I feel excited. So ed adjectives are internal. They describe an internal feeling that you feel inside yourself. Other adjectives can be made by adding ing to a verb. Ing adjectives describe people or things that are external to us. So bore becomes boring. Boring is something outside of you. The movie is boring. Amuse becomes amusing. The play was amusing. Annoy becomes annoying. The music was annoying. Confuse, confusing. Interest, interesting. Excite, and exciting. So these are all external or describe things that are external to us. So the rule is ed ending adjectives describe feelings or states that are internal, and ing describe feelings or states of things external to us. So what's the difference? He's bored versus he's boring. He is bored, how he feels on the inside. Why is he bored? Because his teacher is boring. Okay, his teacher is external to him and he's boring. Interested versus interesting. What's the difference? He looks interested. He's interested in something. Why is he interested? Because his professor is interesting. His professor is external to him. All right. Confused versus confusing. Confused or confusing? Which one? So think about, is this inside of you or outside of you? So it's outside of you, it's confusing. How does he feel on the inside? So he feels confused. Okay, he is confused because the road is confusing. All right, let's try another one. Annoyed or annoying? What are they? What kind of flies are they? Flies are annoying. They're annoying flies. And if any of you are in Australia or have been to Australia in the summertime, you'll know exactly what this is like, okay? The flies are very annoying. How does this guy feel about the flies? Yep, excellent. He feels annoyed. Okay, his feeling on the inside is annoyed because the flies outside of him are annoying. Okay, complete the 2 sentences. So we can see this picture, a family on a ride at a water park. Use the verb excite to complete these 2 sentences. The ride is... Nice, Kay. Nice sentence. All right, good. Well done, guys. The ride is exciting. It's outside of the people. The people are excited. Now, we cannot say the ride is excited. Excited is a feeling. It's a feeling. It's an emotion. Try to remember ED adjectives are feelings. So a ride cannot have a feeling. A ride is not a human thing. It can't feel. Okay? So therefore, we can't say the ride is excited. Okay, I have a couple of pictures for you to help you further practice ED, ING adjectives, and I want you to match them to the picture. Before we go to the task, ED adjectives describe feelings inside a person. ING adjectives describe something or someone outside of us. So, some interesting sentences, guys. It's nice. Some nice sentences. Well done, Marilyn. Good, Jagbir. Yes, well done. All right, good, guys. There's one trick question in there, and I can see that some of you have chosen maybe the answer that's not the best option, but I did that on purpose. So we'll discuss that. Let's have a look. It was interesting to see that somebody, I can't remember who, wrote, number one, the insect looks relaxed. And I guess so, the insect does, I guess, look relaxed, but I would probably choose the word disgusting to describe the insect. This guy is shocking. Okay, what he's doing is shocking. Climbing stairs or the stairs are very tiring. Okay, all of these are feelings, all of these are things that are external to us. Now the frog, some of you said the frog is relaxing. Now, as you know, that ing can also be used with verbs in their continuous tense. What is the frog doing? The frog is relaxing. Now, if you chose ing, it's correct to say the frog is relaxing. But in that sense, we're using relaxing as a verb and not as a noun. Okay, so this is where things start to get tricky. But as an adjective, how does the frog feel? The frog feels relaxed. The shark is frightening. It's a frightening creature. I am frightened by sharks. Okay, the baby, yes, everyone got this right. The baby is tired, and the man is disappointed in the gift. And we can say the gift is disappointing. Okay, other types of adjectives. Here we have adjectives that are different to the ones we looked at before, which were ending in y, ending in full, or minusing ness. So here we have 10 that don't follow those rules. Let's see if you can form those into adjectives. All right, these were a bit tricky because most of them don't follow the rules that we've just looked at. All right, some of these are exceptions and some of these have different ways of forming the endings. So let's have a look. Sustain, to sustain becomes sustainable. So we use this a lot to talk about the environment and sustainable energy, sustainable resources. It means things that don't run out. Okay, so like sustainable energy doesn't run out because it's energy from the sun, and the sun is always going to be there, unlike oil as a source of energy. Danger becomes dangerous. Controversy. Controversy is something that is something that causes people to talk a lot in good or bad ways about something. So for example, we can say Donald Trump has caused a lot of controversy in the media. He has a lot of people talking. He is a controversial person. Origin becomes original. Talk, the verb, becomes talkative. He's a very talkative person. Fashion, fashionable. Sympathy, sympathetic. Ethics, which are morals and beliefs of a high standard, becomes ethical. And we can talk about ethical farming or ethical uses of energy. Inform, which is the verb, and information, which is the noun, can become informative. I can say that that article was very informative. And informed describes how I feel internally. The article was informative because it informed me of things that I didn't know. And specify, which is a verb, becomes specific. So as you can see, forming adjectives doesn't always take a specific rule. And here are some of the examples. No, we can't say talkable. Talkable doesn't exist as a word. It would be talkative. Conflict, if I think Kay is asking the word conflict. Conflict is a noun, and as an adjective, we would say conflicting. There are conflicting, they told conflicting stories. Sustainability. Sustainability is the noun of sustain. So sustain is the verb, sustainability is the noun, sustainable is the adjective, and sustainably is the adverb. Okay, so now what we're going to do, any more questions before we move on? Because we're going to do a fill in the blanks activity now. Okay, yes. Conflict and controversy are a little bit different. Conflict is like when you conflict, it's either you have a difference of opinion and you come like this to each other, or it can be a physical conflict, like a physical fight. Controversy isn't so much conflict, it's people have different opinions about something, and it's like a scandal. So when you think of Donald Trump, he's a controversial figure. People either love him or they hate him. So he's controversial. Sustainful, no, Jacques, unfortunately, sustainful isn't a word. We wouldn't make sustainful as an adjective. The adjective is sustainable. And a lot of you are asking where you can download these slides. They're going to be put up on our YouTube channel, and I'll show you where at the end of this class, okay? We have a new YouTube channel where we're putting all of our core skills classes into. I'll show you where they are after this. All right, using some of these words, some of these adjectives, or some adjectives that you already know, see if you can complete this paragraph. So if we have a look at this paragraph, it would be fine without any adjectives. A growing number of consumers are not just thinking about style when they search digital and literal stores. They are choosing to buy from manufacturers creating fashion. This sentence makes perfect sense. So we can have sentences and paragraphs without adjectives, but they're very basic and they're a bit plain and they're a little bit boring. So adjectives add more detail, add more information, and make our writing a little bit more interesting. So see if you can use some adjectives that we've just learned or others that you can think of that fit. Yeah, good. Some nice choices, guys. Interesting. Well, I'm very impressed by some of your adjectives, guys, I must say. Some really nice choices there. So I'm going to show you mine. So I've said a growing number of informed consumers are not just thinking about style when they search digital and literal stores. They're choosing to buy from ethical manufacturers, creating sustainable fashion. Fashion is becoming a controversial industry as consumers are becoming more sympathetic to the environment. As consumer needs become more specific, designers need to be more original. So I've actually taken these words from the previous list. Okay, but a lot of you have used some really interesting adjectives. So some of you wrote a growing number of rational consumers, which is great. Trendy consumers, good. Honest consumers, educated consumers. So these are very good choices here. Some of you wrote about industry. Where is it? Becoming a booming industry, lucrative industry, and innovative industry. So these were some of your choices. So they're all fine. They're all very good adjectives. Or growing industry, expensive industry. That's interesting, Alvin, as consumer needs are becoming more rampant. Nice one. Designers need to be more original, or some of you have said more creative, more specific. So these are all good too. Yeah, all right, well done, guys. I'm just, oh, number 6, who is this? I can't see. Kumbirai? You have said innovative industry as consumers are becoming more enlightened. Nice one. Yep, and more demanding. Yeah, so very good. I'm really impressed with those answers. So you can see how adjectives can help to, really enhance your writing and make your writing more interesting, more sophisticated, more advanced. But you want to make sure that you're forming your adjectives correctly. So let's recap. What do adjectives do? They describe nouns. They tell us what kind of noun. And today we looked at 3 different ways that we can turn a noun into an adjective: by adding y, by adding full, or by removing ness. Now there are other ways, guys, and like I said, we didn't have time to cover all of them, but these are 3 main ways. We can also turn verbs into adjectives by adding ed or ing to the end of the verb. An ed ending adjective describes an internal feeling. An ing adjective describes an external person or thing. Adjectives enhance our writing. They make our essay writing more interesting. They make our speaking more fluid, and they're really good for you to know for your test as well. They will really help you with your gap fill activities and things like that. So some of you have asked about where you can find these slides. So if you go to E2 Language on YouTube, we've actually created a new channel called E2 Language Core English Skills. And we have within this channel vocabulary. So last week we looked at nouns. So this is where today's lesson is going to be uploaded. Pronunciation and grammar. So we've already got a few grammar videos up there as well. All right, so from now on, all of the core skills channels won't be put in the PTE channel or the IELTS channel. They'll be put in the core skills channel. So subscribe to this channel, and then you can watch all of the weekly core skills videos. Okay, Some of you are asking, how do we improve our adjectives? The answer is read. Read, read, read. Find anything that you're interested in reading. If you like cars, buy a car magazine. If you like books or literature, wonderful, find a nice book. If you like fashion, read a fashion magazine, okay? Reading doesn't have to be boring. A lot of times when teachers say you need to read, people go, oh, I don't have time, or I'm not interested. Newspapers, yes. As you're reading, guys, be aware. So as you read, don't just read for the information or read for the task or read for the joy. Read with a purpose in mind. So today I'm going to read and I'm going to find as many adjectives as I can find. And as you're reading, keep a highlighter or a pen with you. And as you read and you see a noun, if you see a verb that a word that comes before the noun that looks like an adjective, circle it. Okay, so by the end of that page, you should have highlighted or circled, quite a few words. Go back and check that they're all adjectives, and then you can try to use them in sentences on your own. So reading to identify, and then try to actually use them in writing as well. You can write a little summary of what you've just read using some of the adjectives. So yeah, reading to recognize is a really, really important way of learning. Memorizing, some people think that they have to memorize long lists. It's not really that helpful because you're not seeing it in context. You're not seeing how it's used or what word it collocates with. So that's another good thing about reading, is recognizing collocations. So for example, a national language. So you know that national language is a collocation. National culture, national dishes, national food, national dance. Okay, when you start to see all of these, then you start to see the collocations in context and know what goes together. And then you'll notice you never see nation culture or nation food or nation dance. You'll never see that. So it really helps to see and read and recognize, because when you go and you write your own essay or you complete a fill in the blanks activity, you'll know if it looks wrong. So you'll be able to recognize that. So hopefully that helps, guys. Yeah, so try to read and have fun reading. It doesn't have to be boring. Okay, any other questions before we go? All right, I'm glad you enjoyed, guys. It's my pleasure. You're very welcome. And I will see you again next week for another vocabulary lesson. Have a great weekend. Bye.